Three, two, one. Hi, everybody. This is Angelique Tsang with two special guests. We have Tarra, Christoff, and Maya Diamond, the hosts and the founders of a telesummit called Marry Yourself. And I found this telesummit through a blog that actually blew my mind away. And this blog was written by Tarra, and it was about marrying yourself and creating sacred vows. So I really want to welcome the both of you here. Just a little bit about the Telesummit. Telesummit is about a variety of subjects, but the main theme is marrying yourself in order to honor yourself and to really step into the greatness of yourself, total self-acceptance, career, love, everything. So I think it's just the range of subject is quite varied, and you can see that as well in the topics that you describe with your guests. But I would like Tara maybe to start with reading out the sacred vows, and then maybe the both of you can introduce yourself as to why you set up this teleconference or telesummit. Yeah?
Sure. Thank you so much, Angelique. It's great to be here and wonderful to be your guest today.
Thank you.
And I will read my soul vows is what I call them.
Yes.
So these vows I wrote at a place called the Esalen Institute, and they were a way to honor my marriage to myself. With that knowing, these are some of my soul vows. I vow to comfort myself during times of hopelessness, despair, depression, disillusionment, and any difficulty that arises. I vow to be my beloved always and in all ways. I vow to never settle or abandon myself in romantic partnerships again. I vow to live in the faith my life unfolds in mysterious divine perfection. I vow to honor my spiritual path and create an amazing life, whether I am ever legally married or not. I vow to honor my calling and live my life as a work of art. So those were some of the vows.
I just had goosebumps. Oh my God. It's so different hearing it from you. Yeah, and I want to share something personal, and I think it really spoke to me what you wrote, because I think when I was like many years ago, I went through a year of a lot of distress, and at the end of the year, I just came across in a very beautiful shop somewhere in Barcelona. I saw this very beautiful ring. It's very
Mm,
expensive, and so I just bought it, and the reason I bought it was because I thought I need to love myself more, because if I loved myself more and I really my biggest commitment was to myself, then I wouldn't create or attract these circumstances in my life, and even if they would occur, I wouldn't be so distraught or so desolated. And so that's why I think, when I read your blog, I was like, oh my God, I need to contact these women. I need to talk to them. So tell us a little bit about how you came up with the idea, and how you set up together this telesummit, and what is it supposed to inspire in us?
yeah. So we came together actually with a vision of leading women in sacred places around the world where they could have the opportunity to marry themselves. And actually, our original impetus was Bali, Indonesia, where I've spent a lot of time. I find it to be really a culture of the divine feminine. So originally, we came together with the idea of leading these ceremonies in Bali, and yeah, we will be doing that this August. But that was actually the original inspiration. Women around the globe engaged in sacred ceremonies of self love all around the world.
Yeah, and we also created a local Northern California retreat so that women in the States or in California that might not be able to make it to Bali this year can come and do this together in January. So this is happening January 18th through 20th.
Yeah.
And then we decided that there were these key women, these luminaries, these self love luminaries who we wanted to come and bring and share their voices to women all around the world through this telesummit that
Yeah.
we have been conducting. And so so they get to share about self love and self care and really listening to your soul's calling.
Yeah. So I know that there's so many books out there about self-love, self-esteem, self-confidence, and honoring your true self and their wholeness. And I think I am a Jungian lover. I've studied so much Jung. And when you talked about the alchemical inner marriage, I totally get that. But can you maybe explain a bit more around, what are the practical consequences when we do make that decision to go as far as to create a ritual to marry ourselves? Isn't it not enough, for instance, for me, like I bought this ring, and actually this ring is very, very, this ring that I'm wearing is it's extremely, it attracts a lot of attention. So wherever I go, people will say, actually, whoa, what's that ring? And I always say, oh, it's my marriage ring to myself. And people smile or they giggle because it's still a new concept, because maybe they think it's a bit weird. But can you say a little bit about what is the extra value of a ritual and doing it with in front of witnesses and in maybe a different place, and give us a little bit of a taste of the experience.
Do you want to start? Or do you want me?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's actually quite interesting because I had a solo wedding ceremony, and I think looking back, I would have liked to have had more witnessing around
Yeah,
that. I mean, the intention of a wedding ceremony is actually, to be witnessed in
yeah,
community and to take sacred vows in front of other supportive beings who can also, be there for you in this experience. So the vision is to really have women creating a sacred alchemical container where each person will be writing their soul vows, and that's very personal. What are our vows for our soul's path?
yeah,
But they will have an opportunity to share those vows and be witnessed in community. And also, whether it's, for me, it was a necklace, for you, it was this beautiful ring. I mean, it's different for everyone, but finding some object that really symbolizes this commitment is a very important part of it. And I think even more important is actually what leads up to it in terms of really embracing self-love and, looking at all the barriers that we all have that get in the way of us being able to fully love ourselves. And I will share that I mean, I don't, it's funny, like, I don't want to make a correlation, because actually when I did this ceremony, it was the first time I ever really let myself be with the idea that I may be single for the rest of my life. Prior to this
yeah,
ceremony, I couldn't even go there. Like, it was always like, well, that will never happen. But there was underneath the surface some kind of terror, actually,
yeah,
around that. Like, that wasn't the vision I had for my life at all, was to be married. So when I did this ceremony, energetically, it was very powerful. It was near a waterfall. I was in one of the most sacred places for me, Big Sur, California. And I just let go. I'm like, I am in it for my soul vows, the commitment that I have to my life, and I fully accept that my partner, maybe I'm not really meant to even be married, was the thought that kind of went through my mind. And I think that there was something really powerful in that surrender process, because I am right now with somebody who I do believe is my soulmate. And it really, I mean, I heard all that before and it sounded very abstract, like you really have to let go. But for me, there was something really powerful and just going, all right, I'm in it for my life and for the vows that I have, for my time here on this planet. And
yeah,
I'm completely not attached anymore to it being with a man. And then, Eric did appear, but that's
yeah,
kind of my personal story with it.
yeah. What is Maya's story? Because I know that Maya is actually also a dating coach, whereas Tara, you are more like a career, soul-inspired work coach, and now you're going into the marry yourself retreats. Maya is really a dating coach. What is your take on this?
Yeah, well, yeah, I wanted to first of all just say that I think this question of what happens when someone marries themselves in this witnessing, strong, beautiful container is that when the soul speaks, I think kind of everyone in the universe listens. And so when a ritual takes place, there's these reverberations that happen.
Yeah.
And so not only are there reverberations that happen where nature, the universe, people, family, relationships are listening, but also inside something changes, something shifts.
Yeah.
And then one walks through their life and they have actually that memory and that stone in their psyche that says, oh, I remember that moment, that anchor in their psyche when they really took that deep level commitment to their self and their body and their spirit and their mind and soul. And so, just to answer that question. And then, in terms of my personal story, I actually have married myself. Was in San Francisco shortly after I moved to the city, and it was with Rob Bresney, which is he was leading the ceremony. It was at this beautiful cathedral up on um, up on a hill in San Francisco, and but there's more to that story, which I will share later on in this journey. So.
Oh, okay. So, would you say that, because I don't know whether you know this cartoon, but there's actually a cartoon where you see, I think the bride throwing her flower, and then all these women are like rushing towards her. And then when she throws away the garter, is it called the garter? Yeah. All the men are running away. So it's a really funny cartoon. And so do you think that marrying yourself would be beneficial for men too? Or is it different for men?
Beautiful question.
It's been fascinating to me because Maya and I were originally just envisioning this all for women and promoted the retreats as being for women, but something has shifted because of in terms of future offerings, because a lot of men have had very positive responses. I mean, I was surprised when I wrote the blog post about my commitment ceremony. A lot of men were the ones that responded. In particular, there was a young man who wrote that he was glad to read it because he was struggling a bit with really, loving himself, and was going through kind of a difficult period with finals and just challenges in his life. So he said that reading this post was just such a great reminder for him about how he really needs to love himself. So it's been interesting for me to see that there's been a lot of response from men. We had somebody message us the other day asking about the Bali retreat. Could men go? We're probably still going to keep it for women, but we may expand, down the road for bringing men in, because I certainly think that self-love is something that's, we all struggle with. It's part of the human condition. So I definitely don't think this is exclusively a women's issue or challenge by any means.
No, no.
Yeah, I think this topic is really important to men, and I think there is a different, men and women, we do have differences, and so it is
Yes.
important to acknowledge those. So I think, this telesummit is really geared towards women, and there's some subtle differences for men that we're not focusing on, and so
Yeah.
I think that's a whole new body of work that could come out, whether it's through us or through someone else.
Yeah.
But I think that men will really value from listening to the telesummit, because there's these basic self-love principles that any human will really, really gain value from.
Yeah. So, because I've been hosting a telesummit myself just this year, and I can tell you after every interview, I felt something shifted in me. And
Yes.
literally, there was one interview where I bursted into tears because I was so moved by what the expert was sharing with me. And so, my question to you was, I mean, after all the preparation and all the work, you sit down, you do the actual interview. Until now, what has surprised, you both or individually so far, in terms of what you've been learning, or maybe some insights or inner shifts that have been happening?
Yeah. Well, Maureen Murdoch was one of our first interviews, and you mentioned being a fan of Carl Jung. She is
Yeah.
a Jungian psychotherapist, and she wrote a book called The Heroine's Journey.
Yes.
And the interview with her was just really amazing. It was actually Maya who introduced me to that book and kind of exposed me to it. But I thought it was really powerful how, in the hero's journey, this sort of map that she developed for women, that's sort of the feminine version of the Joseph Campbell's the
Yes.
hero's journey. She talks about how the journey begins really with stepping away from the feminine, or really like how does she phrase it, Maya? The separation from the feminine, and how it ends with the integration inside of ourselves between the masculine and feminine, which is something I had heard before, but I think really hearing that from Maureen and knowing that this telesummit is really about wholeness is it was just really impactful. And also just the connection between um, our body and intuition, and recognizing how much intuition lives inside of
Right.
our
Yeah.
body in really profound and powerful ways. So
Yeah.
Maureen was definitely, one of the most interesting ones, and how she actually had a conversation with Joseph Campbell. I
Yeah.
didn't know this. I
Yeah.
know that she had said to him, so I'm working on this book that's the feminine model. Do you think your hero's journey applies to women? And he kind of just didn't really respond that much. And then when he did, he said, well, I don't think it really matters. Women are already there. And she thought, no, there's so much more complexity to the feminine model of individuation. And so she really just took that on and developed an incredible map. So she was
Yeah.
one of my favorite speakers.
Wow. Maya, what was it for you?
Yeah, well, we just interviewed today Sarah Avant Stover, who's an inspirational teacher and yoga teacher, international yoga teacher, um, and also a leader of a course called Reversing the Curse, which is a program that you can do anywhere from around the world. And she was speaking about kind of the way that women can connect with the seasons, and also how the seasons are connected to the menstrual cycle. And
Yeah.
so how each different section of the menstrual cycle, menses, ovulation, PMS, how they all relate to the different seasons. And one really surprising thing that I learned today, and I'm a dating coach, and so I'm always looking to know how can this process of relationship be easier and more effective, and how
With
do we
less
create.
drama.
Yeah, yeah. And so one thing that she shared was that for women who are currently menstruating, during ovulation, we're the shining part. So there's going to be, so going out more during that time is going to be more effective, because they did a study and women are actually more attractive to the opposite sex at that time. Well, for people who are post-menopausal, they can look to the lunar cycle, and at the full moon, women are the most shining and attractive. So in general, the full moon is a great time to be going out and just being your most shining self. So that was a
Oh.
really fun little tidbit
Oh.
that we learned today around connecting with nature and also connecting with your body.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that replay is going to be available for the next 48 hours.
Yeah.
So whoever wants to sign up for the Marry Yourself Telesummit, that replay will be available, so you can hear more about what she talks about around those topics.
Yeah.
The book that she's known for is a book called The Way of the Happy Woman, which is an incredible book, and it's a lot about how our happiness is connected to the seasons of nature and our own rhythms, and how a lot of women just we're so divorced from our bodies, that we're not
Yeah.
connected in the way that we once were.
Yeah. So if you were to summarize what people can learn when they sign up, um, what would you say are the three things that people can take away? both of you, and both of you can come up with different answers. That's fine.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a
great
big question. Let's see here. Three
You want me to
takeaways.
start?
Yeah, if you're
Okay.
ready. Yeah.
Well, the first one I think would be practices around self-love. I mean, it sounds like, it's almost like feels cliche at some point, like
Yeah.
love, but it's not at all. I mean, I really believe that loving yourself is the foundation of creating everything you want in your life, from relationships to career. And like, for example, we have Marcy Shimoff coming up, and she wrote a book called Love for No Reason, and she is just filled with really practical tips and wisdom on how you can love yourself for no reason, love the people in your life unconditionally. So I think self-love would be self loving yourself more would be the number one
Yeah.
uh, takeaway. I
Yeah.
think the second one would be around self-care and really practical ways to integrate that more in your life. I mean, we live primarily, at least in the Western world, in a very masculine culture. And
Yeah.
so I think that it's really powerful. Like we have this Angeles Arian, she's a cultural anthropologist. She, talks about how women need an hour a day just in nature. They need downtime that she actually, I asked her, what would you say for the busy woman who can't do that? She say, well, I think that there's no option. Like you really need to have 1 hour a day where you're just kind of chilling out in nature, focusing on self-care, that's actually indispensable and essential to your life and your well-being. And then the third would be around, the third theme, which is your soul's calling. Tama Keeves was one of my favorite interviews. She's a career coach, and she really makes a connection that I believe between self-love and creating work we love. I think it's pretty much impossible to really create your soul's calling, in the world in a really practical way until you've really committed to loving yourself, and also she talks about the journey of, you don't know how long it's going to take. Like for her, it took her 12 years to, write a book, This Time I Dance, which became a New York Times bestseller. But along the way, she just kind of created a soul contract, which was, I am in this for life. I know what the work is I'm here to do. And whether it takes me 2 years or the rest of my lifetime, I'm committed to following my soul's calling. And she has a lot of really great, practical strategies too around how we can really, really do that and create work that we love and thrive in our work lives. So those would be the three areas, the three kind of major takeaways
Yeah.
from Health Summit.
Wow. Maya, you have something to add?
Yeah, yeah, I would say, just to add to that, I would say that some of the most important takeaways are that by really listening to your own body and really taking that time to connect with whatever's inside, whatever feelings, whatever sensations, whatever thoughts or images or visions that you have, that's a way to really love yourself. And I think we saw that in almost all of the interviews thus far, is that that's a way in. Um, and then the second one would be really loving what is. So just accepting whatever is happening as it is, whether it's the darkness, whether it's the lightness, whether it's something, yeah, really challenging at work or something really exciting with your new love. And that when we find that deep, deep acceptance for exactly what's happening, we can again love ourselves more than we ever have in the past and love our experience more than we ever have. And then the third one is that we're all in this together. And so we doing this in a supportive community, whether it's your women's group or whether it's working with a love mentor, whether it's working with a therapist or coach, and or whether it's doing an online program with women all around the world or at a retreat, that like self-love isn't in a bubble. And so we all and
Yeah.
Tara and I, this whole time, this theme has been working through us, and we've been sharing that with each other. And so,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, it sounds fascinating. I've been hearing a few interviews. I haven't been able to hear all of them, but I mean definitely will try to listen to them as much as possible. But thank you so much for organizing this, and thank you so much for making the time for this interview. I know you're very, very busy, but I really invite the Let Love Come to You members to register and to listen to the interviews that are coming up. I mean, tomorrow I think you have Claire Zamitz.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, she is an amazing businesswoman as well, and her story is fascinating. She's been designing amazing programs, and I think Marcia Shaimov is still coming up right next week. Yeah,
On Wednesday.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, these women are just like, as you said, really leading role models, business women, changing the way we think. But the other ones are the up and coming, maybe less famous, but definitely I think it's great. Yeah, I
And
think,
Casey Baker on Monday, I think your listeners will really love. She's a public speaking
yeah,
coach and writer.
yeah.
And she works with women all around the world, helping them produce TED Talks. And
Oh, wow. Maybe I have to watch it then. I'll have to log on. No.
She's great.
Yeah, great. Well, anyways, I'll be interviewing both of you individually as well for Let Love Come to You because I want to know about your individual work, which is probably quite different again from organizing a crazy telesummit. I mean, you can tell me all about it. It's like, oh my God, 24/7 technology related. But yeah, so I look forward to talking to you individually about your work. And thank you so much. And good luck with the rest of the summit. Yes?
Thank you, Angelique.
Okay.
Questions. It was great connecting.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.